make preparation for a young man who will come through that path that he made. And today's presenter will be none other than our dear brother, young, vibrant Damani Wade. Welcome, Damani, to the podium.
When Israel out of Egypt went, I don't think we understand the magnitude of that story now. And I don't think we understand the celebration that we are called to observe each year because of that story. I see before them laid, while complaining, Moses turned to Yah. Yah said to him, "Why do you cry to me? Tell the people to what? Go forward." The songman says, "Forward still. It is Yahuwah's will." So you don't wait on the sea to part in a bridge. You have to make the move first in faith. And the sea must move. So forward still, because it is my master's will. Regardless of the billows that dash and spray, because of our faith, and we move forward, it is with a conquering tread that we pushed ahead. Because of that faith, the Master, hallelujah, rolled the sea away. Give Yahweh a clap offering. He continues to roll our seas away. The million seas in our lives, He continues to roll them away. Yah is good? All the time. And all the time. Give thanks and praises. Last time I was here, last week, we looked at the dietary laws. What are some things that we learned? What and what not to eat? What is clean and unclean? What is food? And we saw that our bodies is the temple of Yah. The slide is not on the screen. Our body is the temple of Yah. And that which is clean for consumption in the physical temple that was in the midst of Israel is also clean for consumption in our physical temple, our individual temples, which is our body, right? And vice versa for the unclean. So we realize that the consumption of food is even more important than we thought it to be, correct? Yes. All right. Just for a point of clarification, last week when we were going through the animals, we came up to the duck and the geese. And it was said by a couple members that they cannot be eaten because they have webbed feet. Now, I do not find that terminology in the Bible. Webbed feet. It's not there in the Bible because we saw in Leviticus 11, he listed birds. He never gave a category. So for the land animals, we saw that they must have split hoof, completely divided, and they must chew the cud. For the water animals, they must have fins and scales. We didn't receive characteristics for the birds. We just saw a listing of unclean birds. And then it said that all the other birds are clean. Now, if I was to declare a bird unclean that was not listed in Leviticus 11 or Deuteronomy 14, then the bird would have to be either a scavenger bird or a bird that is nocturnal. because we saw that the listing given for the birds that we ought not to eat, the birds were either scavengers or they were nocturnal, so they operated in the night. So if I was to go and list a bird that is not listed in Leviticus 11, and I would still have to be cautious in doing that, because we didn't see a category being given. So the geese and the duck have webbed feet, but we don't see webbed feet being an omitting category for the bird. So thus we must conclude that the bird is clean and can be eaten. Unless you can show me in the Bible otherwise. In the Bible, and not what Rabbi this says and Rabbi X and Rabbi Y says. In the Bible, you have to show me in the Bible. Today now, because last week we looked at that which was from the beginning. So the dietary laws from the beginning. Today now we need to ascertain whether they were upheld or abolished. So we pick up with this gentleman again. And he says, Leviticus chapter 11 lists the dietary restrictions Elohim gave to the nation of Israel. The dietary laws included prohibitions against eating pork, shrimp, shellfish, and many types of seafood, most insects, scavenger birds, and various other animals. The dietary rules were never intended to apply to anyone other than the Israelites. The purpose of the food laws was to make the Israelites distinct from all other nations. We agree with that because we saw it last week in Leviticus. I am setting you apart, for I am set apart. This is where this gentleman and I part ways now. He is saying after this purpose had ended, so after Israel now he is saying, has been distinguished from all other nations. Yeshua come now and declared all foods clean. Mark 7:19. Him said Jesus, which can work with that because Yeshua never do that. Must Jesus do it? Later, Elohim, he says, gave the apostle Peter now a vision that implied, he says, formerly unclean animals could be eaten. And he quotes the scripture, do not call anything impure that Elohim has made clean. Acts 10:15. And he said, when Jesus died on the cross, he fulfilled the Old Testament law. Romans 10:4, Galatians 3:24-26, Ephesians 2:15. And he said it himself. Think not that I have come to abolish, but I have come to fulfill. So I agree with him. But he says this indicates the laws regarding clean and unclean. He said this includes the laws regarding clean and unclean foods. So in a sense, for him, fulfilling the law means bringing it to an end. I don't know about that. If my purpose is to be a carpenter, and I come and I fulfill my purpose, it means that I am Noah, and I continue to? All right. Controversial scriptures. And you notice we have all the exotic meats in the background. Romans 14:2-3. Paul now, always in the midst of controversy. One indeed, Paul says, believes to eat all food. So he said, one man believes to eat all food. But the other one now who is weak, him say, eats only vegetables. So you're weak. Now eat up your industrivals and your collaterals. He that eats, let him not despise him who does not eat. And he that does not eat, let him not judge him who eats. For Elohim received him. 1 Timothy 4:3-4. Forbidding to marry, and they also say to abstain from foods which Elohim created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth. Because every creature of Elohim is good, and none is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. So bless and eat. Purify the pork with some prayer. And the cockroach, and the rat, and the dog. That is what it's saying. Colossians 2:16. Let not Brother Wade, and Pastor Hall, and Brother Bailey, and Brother Brady, and Sister Trudy judge you in eating, my brethren, or in drinking, or in respect of a festival, or a new moon, or a Sabbath. Don't let anybody judge you. Eat and have your fill. Corinthians 10, 25 to 26 and 31. You eat whatever is sold in the meat market, and you ask no questions because of conscience. So you don't know if it's pork. You don't know if it's horse or rat. For the earth belongs to Yahweh and all that fills it. So in essence, they are saying that the writer is saying that Yah made everything. So eat anything I want to eat. Mark 7, the Messiah himself. And he said to them, are you also without understanding? He's asking your head tough. Do you not understand that whatever enters a man from outside is unable to defile him? So the pork cannot defile the man, brethren. Because it does not enter his heart, but it goes into his stomach and is eliminated, thus purging all foods. And he said, what comes out of a man, that is what defiles a man, not what goes into him. And when you read this thing in the Greek, it's I think the translators said, no, we can't make it so graphic. But it literally says that it goes into your belly, and it passes through your rear end, and it goes into the toilet. So then, my brethren, Acts 10:11 to 15, Peter. And he saw the heaven open and a certain vessel like a great sheet, bound at the four corners, descending to him. So these things coming from heaven now, brethren, in which were all kinds of four-footed beasts of the earth, and wild beasts and creeping creatures and the birds of the heaven. And a voice came to him saying, rise up, Kepha, kill and eat. But Kepha said, not at all, master, because I have never eaten whatever is common or unclean. And the voice came back to him a second time and says, what Elohim has cleansed, you do not consider common. Thus, he purged all things. So then, do we eat all things? Because they seem like the thing abolished for chewing a virgin. The first one. What is it that we have learned about scriptures? I have said it often times. I don't remember if I've ever said it from up here. But I've said it to many persons. When someone comes with one verse, what are you supposed to do? So you read the pre-text, which is the before the text. You read the post-text, which is after the text, to get the context of the text. So 1 Timothy 4. And this is the one where it says, they forbid to marry, saying to abstain from food. We take it from verse 1. But the Spirit distinctly says that in latter times, some shall what? Fall away from what? The belief. Paying attention to what? Misleading spirits and teachings of who? Demons. Speaking lies in hypocrisy. having been branded on their own conscience, forbidding to marry, and telling you to abstain from foods which Elohim created to be received with thanksgiving by those who believe and know the truth, because every creature of Elohim is good, and none is to be rejected if it is received with thanksgiving. For it is, watch this now, set apart by what? By the who? What we read last week. So in a sense, the issue here isn't persons eating pork. Persons were telling people, say, listen, stay away from this, and stay away from, eat only vegetables, or do not eat this, or do not eat that, and holding it up as law of the things that are to be eaten, you know. Because look what the writer says. Forbidding to marry, saying to abstain from food. And remember, we done already established last week what is food, which Elohim do what? Created to what? Be received, to be eaten. The food which he created to be eaten with thanksgiving by those who what? Believe and know the truth. So because you read the Torah now, which is the truth, your word is truth. Because you read the Torah, which is truth, and it tells you that these are the animals that you are to eat. These are considered clean. These are considered unclean. Then you receive those with thanksgiving. And know what him say. Because every creature, the same ones that fall within the category of food of Elohim, is good. And none is to be rejected. So you, Sir Brady, can't tell me not to eat lamb. And you can't tell me not to eat giraffe. And you can't tell me not to eat deer and gazelle. For it is set apart. Last week we read in Leviticus 11, he set apart certain set of animals to be eaten. So now they are set apart by the word, Torah, Leviticus 11, Deuteronomy 14 of Elohim and prayer. Understood? That one clear? Moving along. Verse 1 is also telling. The Spirit distinctly says, so you're going to fall away because of what? You follow what man says and not the word. And we get into it. Because a lot of these scriptures that we're going to look at is the same thing. Colossians 2 now. This is the one that says, let no man judge you. We read the chapter. Pick up from verse 4. This I say, so that no one deceives you with what? Enticing words. Therefore, as you accepted Messiah Yeshua, the Master, walk in him, having been rooted and built up in him, and established in the belief. What is this belief that they are talking about? The word. As you were taught, overflowing in it with thanksgiving. See to it that no one makes a prey of you. So don't let them trick you. What? Philosophy and empty deceit. Some man come with him big word. According to the tradition of men, according to the elementary matters of the world, and not according to Messiah. And you being dead in your trespasses and the uncircumcision of your flesh, he has made alive together with him, having forgiven you all trespasses, having blotted out that which was written by hand against us by the dogmas, not the word, by the traditions of men which stood against us. And he has taken it out of the way and have nailed it to the stake, because his whole entire life he make a mockery of them. Having stripped the principalities now and the authorities, he made a public display of them, having prevailed over them in it. Let no one therefore, my brothers and sisters, judge you in eating or in drinking or in respect of a festival or a new moon or Sabbaths, which are a shadow of what is to come. And watch this. But the body of the Messiah. I never see what going on there, so. He's saying, let no one. So don't let anybody outside of this place here come in here and judge you in your eating and your drinking and tell you you're not supposed to eat lamb for Passover. You're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that. Let none of them come and judge you. Only the body of the Messiah is to judge you. What is the body of the Messiah? He said, take and eat. This is my body. What is the body of the Messiah? In the beginning was the, and the Word was with, and the Word became, and dwell among. Okay, so now answer like, you not talk like you don't know. If then you died with the Messiah from the elementary matters of the world, why as though living in the world do you subject yourselves to dogma, he's asking. Do not touch, they say. Do not taste, they say. Do not handle, which are all to perish with use, according to the commands and teachings of who? Of the Torah? Of Yah? Of men. These indeed have an appearance of wisdom. So they give you some highfalutin reasons why you're not supposed to. So these have an appearance of wisdom. In what? Self-imposed worship. So the Torah don't say anything at all about that. But a man says you're supposed to do it. Man come and man say cleanliness is godliness. Man come and say render your heart and not your garment. Can't be found in the scripture. God help themselves. These things are not in the scripture, brethren. So humiliation, so self-imposed worship, humiliation and harsh treatment of the body. So the man is telling you not to eat lamb, brethren. Treating your body harsh. Harsh treatment of the body. Of no value at all, but only for what? Satisfaction of the flesh. Now, if this was about pork eating, why would he come down here now and say, satisfaction of the flesh? That makes no sense. So we are right with this one now too? Moving along. A lot to cover. Mark 7. This is the one where the Messiah himself now said what? Not that which goes into a man that defiles him. You take it from verse 1. Who came to him now? Who came to him? The Pharisees and the scribes. The big people in Israel. The leaders and the writers of the word in the virgin. The teachers, The scribes are the men who wrote the books, And the Pharisees were the leaders. It says not no people come to the man now. Assembled to him, having come from Jerusalem. And seeing some of his disciples eat bread. What were they eating? Bread. And me say it or the Bible say it. What your translation say? Is pork them was eating? Bread. Seeing some of his disciples eat bread with defiled, that is, with unwashed hands, they found fault. So what is the issue here, brethren? The people them never wash them hand. Man just grab up the bread and start to eat, brethren. For the Pharisees, it says, and the Jews do not eat unless they wash their hands thoroughly, holding fast to the tradition of who? The elders. Not Yah, not the Torah, but the elders. And coming from the marketplace, they do not eat unless they wash. And there are many other traditions which they have received and hold fast. The washing of cups and utensils and copper vessels and couches. Then the Pharisees and scribes asked him, why do your disciples not walk according to the tradition of the elders, but eat bread with unwashed hands. And he now answering said to them, this man is a feisty man, you know. The man said, Isaiah did well when he prophesied. Well did Yeshayahu did prophesy concerning you, hypocrites, as it has been written. These people respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. And in vain do they worship me. Teaching for doctrine, teaching for teachings, the commands of men. Forsaking the command of Elohim, you hold fast the tradition of men. And he said to them, well, do you set aside the command of Elohim in order to guard your tradition, that people should wash their hands before they eat? And calling the crowd to him now, so him call crowd, man love excitement. He said to them, hear me everyone and understand. There is no matter, he never say food, there is no matter, because remember the issue is that you are eating with unwashed hands. So germs is going to go into your belly and defile you. That is what they were saying. The Messiah come now and say rubbish. There is no matter, not food him saying no. There is no matter that enters a man from outside which is able to defile him. But it is what comes out of him that defiles the man. And when he went from the crowd into a house, his disciples asked him concerning the what? Oh, never see the part they don't. They never tell them about the part they don't. So that which goes into a man cannot defile him, except that which comes out of him. And it was a parable. Okay. And he said to them, are you also? So he said to them, say, all who don't. This man is a rough man in a brethren. Are you also without understanding? Do you not perceive that whatever enters a man from outside is unable to defile him, because it does not enter his heart, but his stomach, and is eliminated, thus purging all the foods? And he said, what comes out of a man, that defiles a man. So the food here that he is purging is what? Because thus purging all foods in it means that he declare the food clean as is. Because what? The Torah says what? It is clean, because bread comes from grain. Look at Matthew 15. Same story. See if you can identify some differences, because that thus purging all foods can be found in Matthew 15. Then there came to Yeshua scribes and Pharisees from Jerusalem, saying, why do your disciples transgress the tradition of the elders? For they do not wash their hands, and they eat bread. But he answering said to them, same thing again. Hypocrites, Isaiah rightly prophesied about you. These people draw near me with their mouth, and respect me with their lips, but their heart is far from me. In vain do you worship me, teaching as doctrine the commandments of men. Watch verse 11. Not that which goes into the mouth defiles the man, but that which comes out of the mouth. So this is different thing now. So not the germs from the unwashed hands that goes into your mouth that defiles you, but what comes out of your mouth. Then his disciples came and said to him, them come now, with style, hear them. Boy, general, man, them nearly dropped down when I give them the word out, they say, And that them saying, look, do you know that the Pharisees stumbled when they heard this word? Mix up, But them want to ask him to, what you mean? And them are going to let them understand, But he answering said, every plant which my heavenly Father has not planted shall be uprooted. Leave them alone. They are blind leaders of the blind. And if the blind leads the blind, both shall fall into a ditch. And Peter said, because Peter not afraid, Peter asked, man, explain this what to us? Parable. And Yeshua said, are you still without understanding? Do you not understand that whatever enters into the mouth goes into the stomach and is cast out into the sewer? But what comes out of your mouth, my brothers and sisters, comes from the heart. So that means that the poison is within already. And these defile the man. So the germs will be passed out. For out of the heart come forth wicked reasonings, murders, adulteries, whorings, thefts, false witnessing, slanders. These defile the man. But to eat with unwashed hands, this is the issue at hand. Not pork. Eating with your hand unwashed, that's the issue. Eating with unwashed hands does not defile the man. So we're clear now with Mark 7? Moving along. Romans 14. Paul says, receive him who is weak in the belief. Do not criticize his thoughts. Because one man believes to eat all things, but he who is weak eats only vegetables. He that eats, let him not despise him who does not eat. He that does not eat, let him not judge him who eats. So you with your vegetable, me with my meat. You don't judge me, I don't judge you. For Elohim received him, Paul says. Pay attention now to verse 4. Who are you, he asked, that judges another's servant? So Paul is saying, you are a servant, and I am a servant. I have no authority to judge you. And vice versa, you understand that? To his own master he stands, or what? Falls. So my responsibility is not to judge you, because you will stand before your master, or you will fall before him. But he shall be made to stand, for Elohim is able to make him stand. Verse 12, each one of us therefore shall give account for what? Himself to Elohim. So when you go to Elohim, and Yohanan said, I saw a book of life, and what? Another book. And the other book was used to do what? To judge. So when you go to stand before Elohim, Paul is saying, Paul said, leave Sir Brady alone with him vegetables. And Sir Brady, leave Brother Wade alone with him meat. Because when the time comes, I have to give account for any unclean meat that I ate. You have to give account also. So I don't have any place to judge you. So the issue here is judging between brothers and sisters. Therefore, let us not judge one another any longer, but rather judge this, not to put an obstacle or a stumbling block in our brother's way. I know and am persuaded in the Master Yeshua that none at all is common of itself, but to him who regards whatever to be common, to him it is common. So Paul is saying that if you consider the lamb to be common, then to you it is common, but I know that it is not common. But because in your mind you tell yourself that that's why I tell you, Paul is not a man for you just take up and try reading a bridge. You have to be careful when you're reading Paul, you know. Because Paul carries round and round, and sometimes people don't even remember that the same Paul who says this here is the same Paul we're going to read further down, saying, so it's like him saying another thing. So you have to be careful when you're reading Paul. Because even in verse 4, where he says that, who are you that judges another's servant? To his own master he stands or falls, but he shall be made to stand. So Paul is saying that with time, brethren, of this man studying the word, the Spirit will make him stand. Because he will realize his error. It is not your place to judge him. It is not my place to judge him and to cast him out. Because the Spirit is able to make him stand in the word. So every man have to give account for himself. That is what Paul is saying. You know? Paul is not saying that because somebody can read this and say then everybody can do what they feel like they want to do. But that is not what he's saying. Verse 15, and if your brother is grieved because of your food, so if Sir Brady cannot manage the lamb, Paul is saying, You are no longer walking in love. Because me carry the lamb come, see me come put it in front of him and him cannot manage it. Paul is saying, I am no longer walking in love. He's saying, do not buy your food. Don't let because of your food you ruin the one for whom the Messiah died. So you should love your brother more than you love the food. So yes, the lamb can be eaten. But because Brother Brady cannot manage the lamb, and I invite him to my house, just relax now and just make me deal with some vegetable for the sake of my brother. This is the issue at hand, you know. Do not then allow your good. You see? Your good. What is the good? That you eat lamb. To be evil spoken, our Brother Brady is going to say, I am wicked. Because what? I know that him cannot eat the lamb and we cook the lamb same way. So do not allow your good to be evil spoken of. So just hold off. Facilitate your brother, facilitate your sister. That's the issue at hand here. And he continues, for the reign, the kingdom of Elohim is not eating and drinking, but righteousness. And the righteousness carry right back to the Torah again, brethren. So you have to understand when Paul is writing, you know. Paul is the type of man where he tell you a thing, and he make you go figure it out yourself. So he said the kingdom of heaven is not eating and drinking, but righteousness. And how do you find righteousness? By reading the word, because you know once you go consult the word, you're going to see it. And joy in the set apart spirit, for he who is serving Messiah in these matters is well pleasing to Elohim and approved by men. Do not destroy the work of Elohim for the sake of food. All the foods are clean, my brothers. But evil to that man who eats so as to cause stumbling. Say, if Brother Brady have a drinking problem, Pastor and Brother Bailey now love the wine. If Brother Brady have a drinking problem in a Brother Bailey, you and Pastor Hall have a responsibility to ensure that when we are having meals on Sabbath, no wine is there. So you have to abstain from the wine now for the sake of your brother. Because he have a drinking problem. But the wine, that does not mean the wine is unclean. No, the wine is clean. But for the sake of my brother with his drinking problem, we will not put a stumbling block in the way of our brother. For he who is serving, I read that already, do not destroy the work of Elohim for the sake of food. All indeed are clean. It is good not to eat meat or drink wine, nor to do whatever. Don't do anything at all that causes your brother to stumble. The Torah says it. The Torah says if you have a blind man in your midst, ensure there's a clear path for him to walk. Because if him drop, you are accountable. The Torah says it. So if we have somebody with a wheelchair in the congregation, we have to ensure that every exit have a ramp. Do not put a stumbling block in the way of your brother. So this clear? We continue in verse chapter 15 then. But we know, see it here, Pastor Hall and Brother Bailey know who are strong, are to bear with the feelings of the weak and not to please ourselves. So yes, we want to drink the wine and yes, we want to have a nice time. But we have a brother among us who cannot manage it. So we're going to hold out. Let each one of us then please his neighbor for his good. To what? Build him up. We can't leave one behind. We have to build up each other. You abstaining from the wine don't do anything to you, you know. But it does something for your brother. For whatever was written before, what is he talking about? The law was written for our instruction, that through endurance and encouragement of the what? Encouragement of the what? See there? Encouragement of what? The scriptures. We might have the expectation and the Elohim of endurance and encouragement give to you to be of the same mind toward one another. This is about unity. There was division in the assembly, brethren, because of food. Moving along, Acts 10. And he became hungry and wished to eat. Peter now. But while they were preparing, he fell into a what? What did he fall into? A trance. And he saw the heaven opened and a certain vessel like a great sheet bound at the four corners descending to him and let down to the earth, in which were all kinds of four-footed beasts. And the voice said, "Rise, Peter, kill and eat." And Peter said, "Not at all, Master, because I have never eaten whatever is common or unclean." And the voice came to him a second time and said, "What Elohim has cleansed, you do not consider common." So how do we explain this? Verse 17 says, while Peter now was doubting, Brother Brady, within himself, about what? About what? The vision. It was a vision. About what the vision might mean. Look, the men who had been sent from Cornelius, having asked for the house of Simon, stood at the gate. And as Peter, verse 19 again, still on his mind was thinking about what? The vision. The Spirit said to him, "See, 3 men seek you." Watch it. Chapter 11 now. And the disciples, messengers and brothers who were in Judah heard that the nations also received the word. Heard that the who? The nations, the Gentiles, also received the word of Elohim. And when Peter went up to Jerusalem, those of the circumcision or those of the faith, the Jews, were contending with him. They were fighting with him, arguing, saying, "You went into uncircumcised. You went into unclean. You went into the common and ate with them." But Peter began and set it forth in order, saying, "I was in the city of Jaffa praying." Peter said, "Listen, nobody come to me with the foolishness, you know. I was praying and I was in a trance, and I saw a vision, a certain vessel descending, and him tell him the vision. He recounted the vision. And this took place 3 times, he says. And all were drawn up again into the heaven." And watch verse 17 now. So if Elohim, Peter is saying, gave them the same gift as he gave us when we believed, and the Master Yeshua Messiah, how was I able to withstand Elohim? And having heard this, they were silent and praised Elohim, saying, "Then Elohim has indeed also" what? "Given to the nations repentance of life." Repentance to life. So the animals that Peter saw in the vision were representative of what? The Gentiles, the nations. And that is why the voice said to him what? "Do not call that which I have created" what? "Unclean or common." And look back at verse 10. Chapter 10, sorry. Let me show you something. This is after the Messiah's death, after he supposedly purged all foods, And remember, this is Peter, who's not afraid to ask him question. This is Peter saying what? Not at all. Because God himself come and tell Peter, say, "Kill and eat." And Peter is saying to God, say, "No, we can't do that." Why? "I have never, according to your word, eaten anything common or unclean." So if it is that the Messiah had purged all foods, why then Peter held distance? Must be. But you have to remember, Peter was the one who asked him to explain the parable. It was the same Peter. And it's the same Peter him say, "Are you also without understanding?" So unless he really did done such, he never get the message. Him continue on in his life like this. So we're moving on. That one is clear as well, alright? Lovely. Foods offered to idols now, my brothers and sisters. 1 Corinthians 10. Let no one seek his own, Paul is saying again, the same issue from Romans 14. Let no one seek his own, but each one that of the other. You eat whatever is sold in the meat market, and you ask no questions because of conscience. For the earth belongs to Yahweh and all that fills it. And if any of the unbelievers invite you and you wish to go, you eat whatever is set before you. So when your friends who are not of the faith invite you to their house, and you go, you just eat. And you ask no question on account of the conscience. So you don't ask them anything because of your conscience, you don't want to know. He said. And if anyone says to you, listen to the issue at hand now, because they said that the issue is that they were eating pork and horse and cockroach and rat and all kind of things. Now we are going to see what the issue was for all of this thing with Paul and with Peter and Timothy and all of them. What the real issue was. Watch it. And if anyone says to you now, Paul said, all right, you go and you buy the meat in the market. And you don't ask any questions because of your conscience. You go to your neighbor yard and you eat and you don't ask any questions again because of conscience. Paul is saying now, watch this. We're going to honor the issue now. If somebody now come to you now, Paul says, and says to you, this was slaughtered to what? Idols. Do not eat it because of the one pointing it out to you and on account of the conscience, because now you know that the food has been offered to idols, not that they were eating pork. For the earth belongs to Yahweh and all that fills it. Now I say conscience, not your own, but that of the other. Paul is saying, for why is my freedom judged by another man's conscience? But if I partake with thanks, and this is now where I take issue, because Paul is stating his opinion here. Paul is saying, if I go on and partake with thanks, why am I evil spoken of for what I give thanks? So Paul is saying that even though it is slaughtered to idols, why must I feel bad when I bless it and eat? Therefore, Paul is a very controversial man, you know. Whether you eat or drink, hear him say down here, so now, you know. Him say, whether you eat or drink, or anything at all you do all to the what? To the esteem, to the glory of Elohim. Send you back to the word again, you know. Let us go back. Let us backtrack to chapter 8 and verse 4. So then, concerning the eating of food offered to what? Idols. So we see the real issue in 1 Corinthians 10. Is the eating of food offered to idols. That's the issue. We know that an idol is no matter. So Paul takes the position of saying that you and I know, Sister Bailey, that the idols, they are not really gods. They created nothing. That is what Paul is saying, you know. I do not agree with Paul. Let me say that straight. I don't agree with this. But he says what he says. So the issue is not that they were eating pork, but they were eating food offered to idols. And Paul is saying that we know that the idol is nothing. Nothing at all in the world. And that there is no other God but one. No other Elohim but one. So Paul is basically saying, you know, you can eat it. Because the idol is not really nobody. They're not real sacrifice. So you can eat it. But he is also saying that if your brother have a problem, don't eat it. Because he is weak. Me weak. Me weak, but I mean, not eat that. Acts 15, 20 and 29. So now we have one of the apostles saying that you can eat it, but if it's a problem to your brother, don't eat it. Let us hear from Peter. I think this chapter, it was Peter and James who spoke. It's a big chapter. I think this chapter, there was a council of them. And the issue of circumcision came up in the same chapter. And Peter and James had to sort it out properly because they brought Paul before Peter and James and all the others, the big men, and accused Paul, said, Paul is teaching on circumcision. And so they said they have to sort it out now. So they bring Paul to the authorities. And this issue came up. But that we write to them to what? Abstain from the defilements of what? Idols. So now we find some other of the apostles saying that you are to abstain from it, and from whoring, and from what is strangled. So if the food was strangled, was not properly killed, correct? You can't eat that. And from blood. And we know all of this come from where? The Torah. Because if blood catches you, are unclean until evening, you have to wash, don't? Yeah. That you abstain, verse 29 again. Reiterate. So just read verse 20, now we're going to verse 29. That you abstain from what is offered to idols, and blood, and what is strangled, and whoring. If you keep yourselves from these, you shall do well. Be strong. So why are we not to eat of food offered to idols? Because we have Paul saying that it's fine, but if it's an issue to your brother, then you can't do it. We have Peter and James saying, don't do it, abstain. So you know where we have to go. Acts 21:25. But concerning the nations who believe, we have written and decided that they should keep themselves from what is offered to idols, and blood, and what is strangled, and whoring. Revelation 2:14 and 20. Who is it that gave the revelation? It was the revelation of Yeshua HaMashiach given through the angel. But I hold a few matters, the Messiah says, against you. Because you have there those who adhere to the teaching of who? Balaam. Who taught Balak to do what? Put a stumbling block before the children of Israel to do what? Eat food offered to idols. And to commit whoring. Verse 20. But I hold against you another one now, that you allow that woman Jezebel, who calls herself prophetess, to teach and lead my servants astray, to commit what? Whoring, and to eat food offered to idols. So there seems to be an issue with eating food offered to idols, correct? What does the Torah say? And now we're going to unearth the hidden meaning behind eating. And you know, I believe that Paul was trying to say, it is my belief or my understanding based on how I read it, that Paul was basically trying to say that, listen, what are you going to do if you're going to the meat market and you don't know if the food was offered to idol? Paul said, eat it. The idol is nothing. And that's not a bad position, because how are you going to know? Because if the person selling it realize that when him tell you, say, yo, it offered to idols, he's not going to make any sale. Him not going to tell you that it was offered to idols. So Paul is saying that you don't know, so eat it. But Paul is saying if somebody point it out to you now and you know, do not eat it. You understand that? Okay. The hidden meaning behind eating. Exodus 34, 14 to 15. For you do not bow yourselves to another mighty one. For Yahweh, whose name is jealous, is a jealous God. Watch this. Lest you what? Make a covenant with the inhabitants of the land, and they whore after their gods, and slaughter to their gods, and one of them invites you, and you eat of his what? Slaughterings. So how are you going to make the covenant with the inhabitants of the land? By eating of their slaughtering. Don't believe? Watch it. Numbers 25, 1 to 3. And Israel dwelt in Shittim, and the people began to whore with the daughters of Moab. And they invited the people to the what? To the slaughterings of their mighty ones, and the people ate and bowed down to their mighty ones. Thus, because they did that now, Israel was what? Joined. They are now covenanted to Baal Peor. Because that is where you went and ate. and the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel. So note well, my brothers and sisters, eating or partaking of food is tied to the establishment of covenant. Serious business, brother Bailey. Serious business. Bread and wine, pastor. Bread and wine. Take and eat. Watch it. So Makal, Akal, Okla, Okel, and Kol, the words that we learned last week. The Kaf Lamed. Watch it. So complete sustenance restores life. You are tamed for the yoke. You are submitted to authority. You are bound to a covenant. The shepherd and his sheep. Want to see it? Thus, and take on the pictures, one eats where their allegiance lies. I don't like you, I don't eat at your yard. One consumes what is prepared for, by, and under their governing authority. Where one eats determines where their allegiance is, and what one eats determines who they are enjoined or covenanted to. Watch it. 1 Corinthians 10, I'm going to use scripture to prove this. The cup of blessing, Paul says now, which we bless. So the cup of blessing which we bless, is it not a sharing in the what? Blood of the Messiah. The bread that we break, is it not a sharing in the body of the Messiah? Because there is one bread, who are many. We who are many are one body. For we all partake of the one bread. So if you eat of that bread, then you become a part of that body. Because what you eat determines who you are covenanted to. Look at Israel, the writer says, Paul. After the flesh are not those who eat of the slaughterings, sharers in the slaughter place. What then do I say? That an idol is of any value? Or that which is slaughtered to idol is of any value? No! This is the same 1 Corinthians 10 that we just reading now, but this is earlier in the chapter, you know. No! But what the nations slaughter, they slaughter to demons. So we start to understand where Paul is coming from now. And not to Elohim. And I do not wish you to become sharers with demons. So don't eat it. Watch what him say in verse 21. You are not able to drink the cup of the master and the cup of demons. So you cannot eat pork and you eat lamb and you think it's alright. You are not able to partake of the table of the master and of the table of demons, brethren. So do we then now go and provoke the master to jealousy? No. So what you eat determines who you are covenanted to. So now we start to see the hidden meaning behind eating. Luke 12:37. Blessed are those servants whom the master, when he comes, shall find watching. Truly I say to you that he shall gird himself and make them what? Sit down to eat, and shall come and serve them. Luke 14, 15 and 24. And when one of those who sat at the table with him heard this, he said to him, Blessed is he who eats bread in the kingdom of Elohim. For I say to you, none of those men who were invited shall taste my supper. So you were invited to the wedding feast, and you did not come. So what? You are not a part of this covenant, brethren, because you did not come to eat. Luke 22, 29 to 30. And I do what? The Messiah is speaking, And I what? Covenant for you as my Father covenanted for me. A kingdom to what? Eat and drink is not me said. As often as you do this in what? Remembrance of me. So bread and wine start to look far from Passover now. I have covenanted as my Father covenanted to me a kingdom to eat in my kingdom and to sit on thrones judging the 12 tribes of Israel. Adam, oh Adam, that would you have listened. Do not eat, Adam. Do not enjoin yourself to the adversary, Adam. Eat that which I told you to eat, so that you can continue to be covenanted to me, O Adam. And Yahweh Elohim commanded the man, saying, Eat of every tree of the garden, but do not eat of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For in the day that you eat of it, you shall certainly die. And the serpent came, and he said, Eat. And the woman saw that the tree was good for food, and that it was pleasant to the eyes. So you see that the pork tastes nice and it smells good when it is fried. And that tree desirable to make one wise. And she took of its fruit and ate, and she also gave to her husband with her, and he ate. And as such, they joined themselves to the adversary. And we are to this day feeling the repercussions. Adam, do not eat. Biblical examples. Watch Daniel. And the king said to Ashpenaz, the chief of his eunuchs, to bring some of the children of Israel and some of the king's descendants and some of the nobles, young men in whom there was no blemish, good looking, having insight. Verse 5. And the king appointed for them a daily ration, big food, of the king's food, and the wine which he drank, and 3 years of training for them, so that at the end thereof they should stand before the king. Now among them were the sons of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah. But Daniel laid it upon his heart that he would not what? Defile himself with the portion of the king's food, now with the wine which he drank. So he asked permission from the chief of the eunuchs not to defile himself. The man said, I am already enjoined in a covenant. I will not enjoin myself to you. Because, brethren, you see, when king called you at their table to eat, king is telling you that, listen, me and you is brethren now. We are in covenant. We are in allegiance. That's why it was a big thing back then when king called you to his table and you eat from the king's table. Big thing. Because eating, covenant. When people strike deal, eat food. In those days when two kings shake hands and say, let us eat. Maccabees. First Maccabees 1:44 to 47. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah. They should follow the strange laws of the land and forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbath and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and holy people, set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice what? Swine's flesh and unclean beasts. And then 2 Maccabees 6:18-19. Eleazar now, big priest, one of the principal scribes, an aged man, and of a well-favored countenance. But he, Eleazar, was constrained to open his mouth. So the man hold the man and open his mouth, brethren, and push the pig meat in the man's mouth. But he choosing rather to die gloriously than to live what? Stained, defiled. With such an abomination, he spit it out and came of his own accord. So the man said, listen, move and make me come, make me kill me because we're not eating it. 2 Maccabees 7. It came to pass also that 7 brothers, brethren, with their mother, 8 souls, were taken and compelled by the king against the law. Against the law to what? Taste swine flesh. So the man himself, listen, just taste it. As people come to you and tell you, just taste it, man. Just a little taste. You're not dead, just a little taste. They will all tell you, you're not even have to swallow it. Just taste it and spit it. Yeah, man. And they were tormented with scourges and whips. But one of them that spoke first said thus, the first brother, what would you ask or learn of us? We are ready to die, rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. The king fell into a rage and gave orders to have pans and cauldrons heated. They were heated immediately, and he commanded that the tongue of their spokesman be cut out, and that they scalp him. So them cut off his scalp and cut off his hands and feet, while the rest of his brothers and his mothers were watching. When he was utterly helpless, the king ordered them to take him to the fire, still breathing, and to fry him in a pan. The smoke from the pan spread widely, but the brothers and their mother encouraged one another to die nobly. Yahuwah Elohim is watching over us, and in truth has compassion on us, as Moses declared in his song that bore witness against the people to their faces when he said he will have compassion on his servants. After the first brother had died in this way, they brought forward the second for their sport, enjoyment. They tore off the skin off his head with the hair and asked him, will you eat rather than have your body punished limb by limb? Verse 8. He replied in the language. Phone is touching by itself. He replied in the language of his ancestors and said to them, know therefore he turned, underwent tortures, and the first brother had done, as the first brother has done. And when he was at his last breath, he said, you accursed wretch. You were wretched. So like we in a brethren. This sound like us. The man said, you cursed wretch. You dismiss us from this present life, but the King of the universe will raise us up to an everlasting renewal of life, because we have died for his laws. Verse 11, and said, nobly I got these from heaven, and because of his laws I disdain them, and from him I hope to get them back again. So the man is saying, I got my life from heaven. As a result, the king himself and those with them were astonished at the young man's spirit. Verse 14, when he was near death, he said, one cannot but choose to die at the hands of mortals and to cherish the hope of Elohim. The hope Elohim gives of being raised again by him. So the man is saying, I don't have no choice. What am I going to choose? To live now and don't get the niceness later on? But for you, he's saying, there will be no resurrection to life. So you lost. You think you kill me now. But who laughed last? Next day brought forward the 5th. So they come and they kill him from straight down. The old lady watching her 7 sons being killed. So she started to talk now because they kill all of them and one leave and them tell her, say, come. Try to convince this last one so you can keep your last son. And the lady said, watch me on. I beg you, my child, she says, look at the heaven and the earth and see everything that is in them and recognize that Elohim did not make them out of things that existed. And in the same way the human race came into being. Do not fear this butcher, but prove worthy of your brothers. So don't disappoint your brothers now. Accept death, so that in Elohim's mercy I may get you back again. Because if you eat it, me not see you again, I'm going to see your brothers. Because you come out of the covenant if you eat it. While she was still speaking, the young man said, what are you waiting for? I will not obey the king's command, but I obey the command of the law that was given to our ancestors through Moses. But you who have contrived all sorts of evil against the Hebrew, you will certainly not escape the hands of Elohim. For our brothers, after enduring a brief suffering, have drunk of ever-flowing life under Elohim's covenant. But you, by the judgment of Elohim, will receive just punishment for your arrogance. I, like my brothers, give up body and life for the laws of our ancestors, appealing to Elohim to show mercy soon to our nation, and by trials and plagues to make you confess that he alone is Elohim. Verse 40, so he died in his integrity, putting his whole trust in Yahweh. Last of all, the mother died after her sons. Let this, the writer says, be enough. Let this be enough about the eating of sacrifices and the extreme tortures. Eliezer now, the tyrant, Antiochus, this is the man who is killing off the people for eating meat, pork. Ordered the guards to seize each and every Hebrew and to compel them to eat pork and food sacrificed to idols. So the people, the entire nation decided, listen, we're not going to eat it. And the man said, catch all of them and carry them come. If any were not willing to eat defiling food, they were to be broken on the wheel and killed. When many persons had been rounded up, one man, Eliezer by the name, leader of the flock, was brought before the king. He was a man of priestly family, learned in the law, advanced in age, old man, and known to many in the tyrant's court because of his philosophy, so well-respected man. When Antiochus saw him, he said, before I begin to torture you, you see, old man, I would advise you to save yourself by eating this pork, you see. For I respect your age and your gray hairs. Although you have had them for so long a time, it does not seem to me that you are a philosopher when you observe the religion of the Jews. So the man is saying that you don't seem very wise to me when you hold on to the religion of the Jews, to the faith, the belief of the Jews. You don't seem very wise, because a wise man would eat the pork and keep him life. When nature has granted it to us, so the man is saying that, listen, nature give us this good meat, you see? Why should you abhor eating the very excellent meat of this animal? People talk to me like this about walking a virgin. I have my Antiochus, you know. It is senseless not to enjoy delicious things that are not shameful and wrong to spurn the gifts of nature. The man is saying pork is a gift of nature. I agree it's a gift of nature to clean up the environment, not to be eaten. It seems to me that you will do something even more senseless, he continues, if by holding a vain opinion, because it is your opinion the man is saying concerning the truth, you continue to despise me in your own heart, to your own hurt. Will you not awaken from your foolish philosophy, talking about laws? Dispel your futile reasonings, adopt a mind appropriate to your years. Move sensible, man, you're an old man. Behave like you have sense. Philosophize, the man is saying, reason it out according to the truth of what is beneficial and stop telling me about the truth of God. And have compassion on your old age by honoring my humane advice. So him come like him is angel of light now. Him say my advice is humane. For consider this. If there is some power watching over this belief of yours, it will excuse you from my transgression that arises out of compulsion. So the man is saying that the God will forgive you if you eat a little pork. When the tyrant urged him in this fashion to eat meat unlawfully, Eliezer asked to have a word. So Eliezer said, just let me talk a little bit. When he had received permission to speak, he began to address the people as follows. We, O Antiochus, who have been persuaded to govern our lives, we have been persuaded to conduct ourselves according to the divine law, think that there is no compulsion more powerful. So you are talking about compulsion? There is no compulsion on the face of this earth more powerful than my obedience, the man is saying, to the law. Therefore, we consider that we should not transgress it in any respect, even if, as you suppose, our law were not truly divine. So the man is saying that even if the law don't divine as you suppose, and we had wrongly held it to be divine, not even so, would it be right for us to invalidate our reputation, brethren? I have a reputation of not doing this thing. I want me to turn my back on my life's belief. Therefore, do not suppose that it would be a petty sin if we were to eat defiling food. So it's not a petty sin, the man is saying. To transgress the law in matters either small or great is of what? Equal seriousness. For in either case, the law is equally despised. So whether or not you do a small sin or a big sin, are the same hatred you have for the law while you sin. You scoff at our philosophy as though living by it were irrational, but it teaches us self-control, so that we master all pleasures and desires. And I love this part, that's why I put them in red. I need to bookmark it when I go home. So it teaches us self-control. It causes us to master our pleasures and desires. It also trains us in courage, so that we endure any suffering willingly. It instructs us in justice, so that in all our dwellings we act impartially. It teaches us piety, so that with proper reverence we worship the only living Elohim. Therefore, we do not eat defiling food. For since we believe that the law was established by Elohim, we know that in the nature of things the creator of the world is giving us the law, has shown sympathy toward us. So because the world was created by him, the fact that he gave you a law and said not to eat this, he is having sympathy on us so that we don't eat it and die. He has permitted us to eat what will be most suitable for our lives. So last week's sermon, the man I preached, brethren, that which will be suitable for your lives. But he has forbidden us to eat meats that would be contrary to this. So that which is not suitable for your life, he has forbidden us to eat. It would be tyrannical for you to compel us not only to transgress the law, but also to eat in such a way that you may deride us for eating defiling foods, which are most hateful to us. But you shall have no such occasion to laugh at me. Nor will I transgress the sacred oaths of my ancestors concerning the keeping of the law. Verse 34, I will not play false to you, because somebody now, go to him, somebody sorry for him because them kick him in his side and do some whole heap of things and skip out a lot of it. And one of the men, because he was well respected, one of the man who was there to torture him, go to him and say, Eliezer, I cook piece of fowl, and I carry come make it look like pork, and you just eat it so that you can save yourself. And this is his response. I will not play false to you, O Lord, that train me, nor will I renounce you, beloved self-control. I will not put you to shame, philosophical reason, nor will I reject you, honored priesthood and knowledge of the law. You, O king, shall not defile the honorable mouth of my old age, nor my long life lived lawfully. My ancestors will receive me as pure. And see, dear, we will set before you some cooked meat, something that you can eat. Slide not changing. We will set before you some cooked meat. Save yourself by pretending to eat pork. And him said, never may we, the children of Abraham, think so basely that out of cowardice we must fake now a role unbecoming to us. So the man is saying, you ever hear the scripture shun the very appearance of evil? The very appearance, the man is saying, not even pretend, I won't even pretend to sin. Serious men, this about faith, brethren. Serious man. Moving along. Time is going. You can read it for yourself. This is 4 Maccabees, chapter 6. For the sake of the law, I will endure your torment. And he resisted by virtue of reason. For the sake of the law. Conclusion. If Yah is still the Elohim of covenants, is he? Yeah. And is still covenanting with humanity, is he? Yeah. Then it means we cannot eat anything and anywhere. Our table must be set by Yah with Upheld, Markal, and Okla prescribed by Yah. Upheld, which is eaten as outlined by Yah, to ensure we are whole, complete, whole, sustained, tamed for the yoke and submitted to authority. Yeshayahu 25 verse 6, Isaiah. And in this mountain, Yahweh of hosts shall make for all people a what? A feast of choice pieces, a feast of old wines, of choice pieces with marrow, of old wines well refined. Covenant, brethren. Covenant. We're going to flesh it out properly next month. Psalm 23:5. You spread before me a table in the presence of my enemies, and you have anointed my head with oil, and my cup runs over. So the table must be prepared by Yah. Matthew 6. In teaching us to pray, the Messiah says, give us today our what? Daily bread. So where it come from? From Yah. So our table must be prepared by Yah, and the food must come from Yah. It must be that which Yah prescribed for us to eat. Give us today our daily bread. Yohanan 6, 53 to 56. Love this one. Messiah speaking. Yeshua therefore said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, unless you eat the flesh of who? The son of Adam. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. The Word was God, and the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. So unless you eat the Word, unless you eat that which is prescribed by the Word as food, the Son of Adam, and drink his blood, you do what? You possess no life, because you come from under the covenant. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood, do what? Possesses everlasting life, and I shall raise him up in the last day. For my flesh is truly food. What is my flesh? The Word is truly food. And my blood is truly drink. He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood, do what? Stays in me. What did I say earlier? What you eat and where you eat determines who you are covenanted to, who you are enjoined to. See the Messiah saying it here? He who eats my flesh and drinks my blood stays in me, and I in them, because they are of my covenant. Your meal, my brothers and sisters, is your signature to a covenant. Ensure your physical and spiritual tables are set by Yah.